Welcome, Robert Cullen from PWM Limited. Today we're here to do an episode for the BITA Business podcast. So welcome.
Thank you.
So to start off, I'd just love to get a little insight about yourself and how you started off in business in those early years.
So I was born Tipperary, 69, so 55 years of age. So I actually left school at 16 and went into an apprenticeship as welding fabrication in a small steelworks down in Dundrum in Tipperary. Back in 1987, 86. And we bad downturn in Ireland back into the 80s. They weren't producing anything. They made us all redundant. Did a couple of jobs around the around local areas. Work not was happening. Ended up going to England 36 years ago, and I'm still there today.
What inspired you to set up in 2006 then, set the company up?
So we worked in the rail industry, and at the time, there was a culture, there was a change of culture where they wanted more freelance contractors in the business of rail because projects were short term. They were, you were only required for a certain length of time. So I approached the company I was employed by and said, look, I'd like to go freelance and I'm going to leave you. And the guy says, you can go freelance, but you're not leaving us. So I set up PWM that day. PWM don't mean anything. It's a company we bought off the shelf. It was pre-registered. Me and my wife went down, picked it out and just said, no, that'll do. Doesn't mean anything. It's not like Paddy, Mick and, and William, it's not anything like that. It is just off the shelf, means nothing. Yep. We did play with the idea of plan with me because I was doing a lot of planning back then, early doors in the railway. And then we also had party with me. So we didn't know which one to go with. So we left it as PWM UK Limited.
Tell us a wee bit about the early days then and some of the challenges you guys might have faced when you were first starting off in business.
So I suppose for us in business, it was quite easy. It started off with me. And then when I left Kelly Group, I was contracting for first another BITA member. Tim is one of the founders of this. So, and still a good friend today. We kind of, the business was soft at first because we went into companies and I went in as an individual and they had shortfalls predominantly around the systems and MEP in their project management team. So they'd say, do you know anyone that could do this and help us with that? And I go, yeah, I know someone, I'll bring him in. And the company kind of took off from there. So, and we always ran about 8, 10, 12 people just doing freelance. Sue ran the commercial stroke financial side from home with a young family at the time. And I was out on site running the sites and putting people out. And so it kind of grew from there.
Since you started back then in 2006, can you tell us about any milestones or any big things along the journey would be interesting to share with us?
So we've worked on probably every major rail project since conception of the business. So from HS1, we were on St Pancras Station. So I was the comms manager on St Pancras Station for the whole station. So we did King's Cross Station as well. I was awarded one of the top 25 managers on that station by Network Rail. It's an award I still have today. As I say, West Coast Modernisation, Crossrail, you name it, we've been on it in some way or another. HS2 we're currently on. We've been on the Houston development for on and off with different companies. So our client base is growing. So.
Okay. And for people that aren't maybe familiar with your business, can you tell us kind of exactly what it is you guys do and what services you provide there?
So as a business nowadays, we're probably a D&B contractor around MEP systems for stations. That'd be mechanical, electrical, power, and all the comms. But what we also do is we do the civils element to support that, so we'll design and build that as well. So we're a turnkey solution for systems on and around stations, but we're not limited to just railways. We will work in any environment.
Okay. And is there anything that you're particularly proud of? I know you mentioned some of those key milestones, but what would be some of the
Well, I suppose earlier on this year I got the Freedom of the City of London for my contribution to the rail industry. So that was quite nice to get all the family over and celebrate that. As I say, I've always, in most jobs, we've always walked away with a management award, whether it be given personally by the team or that. Yeah. I suppose the opening of St. Pancras Station with the Queen and things like that was another great milestone. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So you're obviously very passionate about what you do and you've been recognised for that. So for myself as a business owner as well, and obviously obsessed with my own business and knowing how much it takes to to get going, how do you balance your work life? Do you have a work-life balance? And
I suppose yes and no. When I'm working, and it can be 24 hours a day. But I like my holidays, and I'm lucky enough that Sue also likes traveling, so we do get away quite a bit. But the laptops are put in the bag, and there's always something to be done, like anyone that's run the business. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Sue then. So you guys, you and your wife run the company. You're both shareholders. Tell us a little bit about that then.
Yeah. So we're both shareholders. I own a majority shareholder. Someone's got to make a decision when things get tough. So so Sue runs all the finances. Alex, our MD, he does the day-to-day actual running of the business with Sue, and I'm more out in site doing the consultancy roles. We're down with Amy in Cardiff at the moment doing the CVL project, and that. So yeah, it's difficult. It's that work-life balance when work is around the dinner table. And my son was working with us for a while as well. So you just, when you think you're getting away from work, there'll be something said about a site or something like that, yeah. But we're a lot better about it now. We do park it as much as we can. Yeah.
And at what point did you realise that you were truly obsessed with building this business then and getting going?
Well, I think once we really got a lot of traction in the early part, just before COVID and the early parts of COVID, it did become a bit of an obsession because we were putting new people on site every day. We were taking on design, which was a new element of the work for us. So yeah, you did get a bit of what's happening here, what's happening there. And you wanted to control everything, which of course is very stupid.
And would you say there was like a defining moment in the business?
I think making the decision just to move away from contingent staffing to actually taking on the full risk of a job, then understanding the insurance, what that costs, and the accreditations we had to go through, just to do that on a rail site is a lot more difficult than it is on a standard building site.
Tell us about some of the problems, some of the difficulties you face with that.
So it is getting accreditations so you can go out there. So that's going through your risks, making sure you've got to working with a proper insurance company that knows railways rather than just ringing up an insurance company and say, I need PI and I need this. And they understand that we're not working on the infrastructure where we could affect train movement, because that is where the big insurance kick in. But yeah, the challenges is it's an old infrastructure. Everything you touch is, you think you're going in to put a camera on a wall, and the next thing you need a brick because the wall it's just falling down, it's fascias that you're trying to put kit on, and it's just, it's an old infrastructure. It needs a lot of love and care, and a lot of it is listed, especially the older stations. So you have to know how to work on and around listed buildings and doing all the consents and doing all the planning. It's not like a building site. We need to get station change agreed, listed building consents, that sort of thing. So it's understanding and knowing the process. So when you're managing it, I suppose we had the knowledge, but we were never doing the work. And then when the opportunity arose to do it, well, we had all the skill set. We knew we were doing it for clients. So I'm managing designers, so we just did it for ourselves.
Tell us, how you deal with those difficult days, those tough mornings when you get up and you've got a lot of challenges ahead of you.
Well, I don't get over stress. You can see I don't have a grey hair in my head. I'm 55 years of age, so it is breaking it down and understanding you're dealing with humans, and humans make mistakes, and it's not looking for a blame, it's looking for a solution. And then getting that solution, getting your client to buy in as well. If it's something that's affecting a client or a program, making sure you take them on the journey with you, because 99% of the time, what's a big problem in your mind, the client can live with. And if you get that engagement and you've got that relationship with the client, it is there's where you go first. You understand the problem, you go to your client, and they're really nowadays a lot better about working with you to achieve a common goal rather than there's a contract there and we're going to beat you to that with it, you know.
Yeah. I'd say you'd be quite easy to work with, but at the same time, don't take any messing around. How would you describe your leadership style, and how does that influence the culture at the company?
So I'm hard. I was brought up school of tough notch. So I had a great mentor, a guy called Simon Morgan from Network Rail, and he's still at Network Rail, great guy. And he took me aside a couple of times when we were on early doors on King's Cross Station. He says, Robert, he says, you're a great guy, but God, there's not everything has to be a fight. So it was attack was the best form of defense, I suppose. So I've calmed down a lot over the years. So
yeah. And I suppose leadership isn't just about leading others. How would you see yourself leading yourself in your life? How you is hard on yourself as well?
I am very, very much so. Yeah, I give myself a novel. I think I should be doing more, and obviously the industry is in a quite, at the moment, the business is, I won't say taking a bit of a downturn, but we're downsized to suit where we are currently. And I kind of blame myself for that, for not seeing it coming quick enough, for not reacting quick enough. And now we're trying to turn that around, you know, so. So I do, I beat myself up a lot thinking, why didn't I see that coming? You're long enough in the industry, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And tell us a little bit about BITA. How did you first get involved with BITA? How did you meet Paul? How did you get introduced to the organisation?
So we were in a pub in King's Cross one night. We'd taken one of our clients out to talk about future works, extending our offering to them. It's someone I'd kind of known personally anyway, another Bedfordshire boy. Paul was on the next table. He's heard my accent because I'm quite loud at times because I'm half deaf, I think, and I just talk too loud. And he just turned around and he says to me, he asked me where I'd come folding. He said he was from Cork. He said, when I'm finished here, I'll come and see you. So came and joined our group, told us all about BITA. And I just assumed another networking group that you get nothing out of. They're great, good night out, but the decision makers are never in the room. And that's why we stopped going to these events and that sort of thing with any other group as well. So, and he says, no, we're different. And I says, yeah, everyone says that. Well, I say the same thing when I'm selling my business. We're different. We're all different. And he said, right, we've got a construction lunch in a few weeks' time. You're coming and sitting on my table. So myself and Sue went and met him, I think, the following week in London. We had a coffee. As I said, the invites was extended, and we both went along to our first BITA do about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, yeah. So that's how I met Paul. Yeah.
Okay. And then tell us how that's evolved then, and you know, your part now in BITA Rail as the vice chair.
So we set up, so I was going to BITA, and BITA was great. We got some great contacts out of it. As I say, we changed away from the insurance companies we're using. We're using another BITA Rail member, Kerry London, and their rail expertise and how the guys worked with us to get proper insurance. So we got the back office stuff, but we couldn't see where we would get a future supply chain to keep the business going. And BITA really wasn't in our field. We didn't want to get into the hustle and bustle of general construction. It's not where we're good at. We don't have the skill set within the business for it. And we were looking for something else. We used to do a networking lunch that myself and a woman called Jill set up. And I was telling Paul about this, and I said, look, you know, probably next year we mightn't even renew because, you know, it's great, and I'll come along to the events, but I don't see the value in the membership for us as PWM. And Paul being Paul, we all know Paul is like, he says, stop fucking whinging about it and get on and change it. So we came up with the idea, we set up BITA Rail. So October 2023, July 2023, we set it up with the idea. We then sat down in August and we said we'll have our first event in October. Of course, it's one thing saying my first event in October. It's another thing to make it happen. So we set about it, and in fairness to Paul, they're doing it because of all these construction lunches, as we are here in Dublin today. He had the skill set, and we started approaching the rail industry because there is a crossover between the construction in BITA and rail, because they have people that work on both sides of the fence. So we approached them with our first due in October 23, and we sold 120 tickets. So it was a success from day one. We got some great speakers. We had the corporate health and safety from Network Rail. So when you can bring that colour of people into it, people take notice. And you had decision makers in the room, and you had business owners. So and that's the team. So we moved away from lunches because it's too formal. If you want to do real networking, you've got to be able to work in a room. You don't want to be beside someone for 3 hours you can't get any work out of any business. You just sometimes you can be unlucky unless you take your own table, that you end up with someone you've got nothing in common with. But you'll always have a good day, good drink, and a bit of fun with everyone. Because that is the team behind BITA. You've got to enjoy it as well. So we set up BITA Rail, and then we were working out where to take it from there. So we needed a figurehead. So Mick met Paul at I believe, in the English embassy over here. And he approached Mick Danaher about becoming the face of and take the chair of BITA Rail. Okay. So I support Mick.
Okay.
Fantastic guy.
Brilliant.
He's a player.
So I was at my first BITA Rail event last night. So there's a lot of really interesting presentations. They're talking about everything from using hydrogen to power things and maintenance and all this type of thing. So tell us, what initiatives are you guys working on at the minute to advance the industry? So
firstly, we team every event. So last night was about ESG, and the journey that all these companies got to take. So people understand in the industry, it's not about your renewals and what we got to achieve for green will end up with money being spent on the infrastructure to get so every event that we do at BITA Rail will have a team, and we'll have speakers around that team. Then what comes out of that is each team will have an amount of work they got to do that will end up in pounds being spent on the infrastructure. Yeah. So and that's what we're trying to get across to everyone is that it's, and then every one of those teams, like you spoke about hydrogen last night, it's zero emissions. So there's the innovation that it's not just for us, we can save money by using it. Someone had to come up with those products. We've got to reskill our guys to use these products. It's like we're a reseller for a 24-volt lighting system. It runs a Cat6. You don't even need an electrician anymore. And we could light this room in hours. You said there's loads of innovation out there that we're trying to get into the rail industry, and the rail industry is slow about innovation because obviously you're dealing with people safety, and it's got to go through so much safety approvals and etc. before we can put out the infrastructure.
How do you foresee the future of rail in the UK, especially with now HS2?
There's a lot. HS2 being cut back was a big shock for the industry because it really needed to go all the way to Manchester and up into Glasgow, really, in my opinion. I think HS2 should have really connected all the northern cities rather than connecting north to south first. And north to south should have been HS3. So, and then that would have made the powerhouse across the north a lot better, So that's only a personal opinion. So the infrastructure in the UK is so big, you're always going to have a big spin on it just to maintain it and keep it going. With all the initiatives to get to carbon, to get to zero, you're going to have a lot of money spent on the infrastructure, bringing in new trains, which require new systems, new depots for maintenance, etc. So it's going to be a busy industry for a long time. With the devolved powers coming and getting money from the governments to enhance their own areas, and they get decisions how to spend that money. I can see tram services coming back in as well. So I can see the likes of Leeds and hopefully someday Milton Keynes putting in tram systems and other major towns, because they're fantastic to bring investment into an area.
Another aspect of this bit of podcast is we're kind of looking to inspire future business owners, future leaders. What advice would you give to anyone who's starting their own business in a competitive industry?
Well, know your industry, know what you're getting into, do your research before you get into it, especially if you're getting into anything that is on a safety critical, like rail, nuclear, airports, anything like that, where you have all that extra accreditation. Understanding that it isn't always price to get you where you need to be. Most of the public tenders now, price is only 40% of the tender. So it's having the support around you to fill that other 60%, doing your quality, doing your environmental assessments, and that. Is knowing your industry, enjoy it. Running your own business is great fun. Not all the time, but yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy the people, because we're on this planet for an average of, as a man, we're about 79 years. It's a very short time in the scheme of how old this planet is. So make memories and never forget your family. They're the ones that will get you through the darkest days, no matter what's happening. And even if it all goes wrong, no doubt over this podcast, you'll talk to a lot of great industry leaders. I met Ray, worked with not too long ago with Paul, but for every Ray O'Rourke, there's 50 guys that started their own business that never got it to where they want to do and fail. So, so it's tough out there. Just know your market, do your research, and don't rush. There's no hurry. And don't forget that family, because you can't get those years back. And I know that from working away from home on the rail, working away from home when you just don't get all of a sudden you turn up and you haven't got a 5-year-old. There's some bloke trying to share your razors, and you're going, where did he come from?
How important is mindset for you? So I'd be doing a good bit of work around mindset myself at the minute. One thing I've kind of been looking at is kind of when we face setbacks. So not always to see things as problems, but maybe look at it slightly different, look at it as a situation. Can you give us an example of when you've had maybe a setback or a certain issue in the business that you've then looked at and turned it into an opportunity?
I suppose, we've, you can, on numerous jobs, you would get hit with delays, or we get hit with, additional costs that we weren't expecting, and you've got to look at it, and sometimes you got to put your hand in your pocket and get yourself out of that situation, but you got to learn from it. You got to learn from it and go, how do we make sure this don't happen again? And I'd say not have that blame culture within a business that you're looking for someone to blame. None of us can turn back time. You can sit there screaming at someone for a week. It's not going to change the event. You've got to get the event, you got to deal with it, and you got to move on. Take the learning. And if that person has made the same mistake a couple of times, well, then maybe that person is not the right for that particular role. It doesn't mean he's a bad person for your business, or she's a bad person for the business. It's just maybe we haven't trained the person correctly. Maybe it's a shortcoming of the business, or me as an individual running the business, that we put someone in a position they shouldn't have. And sometimes you've got to ask yourself that question as well. You can't. Easiest thing in the world is blame someone.
Yeah.
We have the checks and balances in place, and we haven't done our due diligence. You run a business; it's your responsibility to do that.
Yeah, it's taking the responsibility and having a growth mindset.
Yeah, you gotta. As I say, if it's not working, I own business. It's not everybody's fault. It's my fault.
What would you say would be the single most important decision that you've made while running the business?
While running the business,
yeah.
Because my wife might see this, of course, the decision to marry my wife, is where we did get married after the business was set up. So yeah, so that's I'm saying that one for the gamma. I think the moving away from the comfort of just supplying white collar workers and taking on the responsibility of design and the responsibility of being out there on a rail environment, physically doing the work. That was a big decision, because it changes so much about everything you do, the investment you got to put in just to get your accreditations to go out and do that. Yeah, that's a whole mindset change for everyone within the business. Yeah.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit now about, what success looks like for you now, say, compared to when you first set up back in 2006.
I think success is just delivering a project on time and on budget. And as an individual, that's all we all want to do. But in the bigger thing it's a great feeling. Like, I've got lads working for me 12 years, and you see how they've developed and how their life has changed under your mentorship and under your, as a business, you change people's lives, and if you don't take that social responsibility, you shouldn't be in business. I'm not ever want to be driving around, and having flying everywhere business. I'm still that simple guy that left Tipperary in 1988, and I'm quite happy to go into a pub and have a pint, and I do like nice food and I like cooking. So yeah, to me, watching people develop around me, getting time to spend with my family, and then that's life. That's all I want. Keep it simple.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question that I was asked there a while back that kind of really got me thinking. If you had one day left to live, how would you spend it?
Spend it with my family. Probably sitting around, cooking a nice meal. Sitting around, bottle of wine, because there'd be more fun at the dinner table nowadays. Now the kids have, they're grown up a bit, and yeah, they are good days when you're sitting there having a glass of wine, having a decent bit of food, and everyone is just winding each other up. And especially if the wider family is over from Ireland and things like that, that's how you want to. That's where you want to be. You don't want to be watching a football match with 90,000 other people, because there's 89,950 strangers. You know what I mean. So yeah, no, that's where I do it. Yeah,
Would you do? And do you get that opportunity?
We do. So not as often as I'd like because of work. There's only two of the kids at home. One lives over here with her mum, and then Emily, the youngest, is living in London, so she's now at home every day. But yeah, we'll get together a few times over Christmas and things like that. Yeah. So, and I do, and everyone gets out of the kitchen when I'm cooking, except to come in and clean at the end of it. But yeah. But I'm told I'm getting a lot better.
Right. Great. Well, finally, just tell us a little bit about your aspirations for your business going forward.
So I'd like to get the business to I suppose, about £15 million turnover, doing a lot more design and build work. We don't want to be huge, 55 years of age, and just invest in our people and just watch them grow. And possibly, by the time I'm 65, work out how we're going to give, what we're going to do with the business, and are we going to, I don't know if my kids will really want to get into it. And then is it going to be, we do something with our senior management and say, guys, you need to take this off our hands, So yeah, we're not, I don't want £100 million headache is the way I put it, So yeah, we just want to grow the business to a nice size, enjoy it. And as I say, me and Sue, we just want to go on holidays.
So you can see the business running without yourself and Sue then?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think Sue would find it harder to let go of the finance than I would of the whole business. Yeah, so because even if I let go of the business and I want to do a few days, I can always do a few days consultancy for somebody else, or even through the business, and they just pay me as and with.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, brilliant. Well, here, Robert Cullen, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for sharing all your insights.
Thank you.